Om. Om. ॐ ब्रह्मानन्दं परमसुखदं केवलं ज्ञानमूर्तिं द्वन्द्वातीतं गगनसदृशं तत्त्वमस्यादिलक्ष्यम् एकं नित्यं विमलमचलं सर्वधी साक्षिभूतं भावातीतं त्रिगुणरहितं सद्गुरुं तं नमामि। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। जय गुरुदेव।
Hari Om. Jai Vijay. I will chant few shlokas of chapter 8, Brahmaraji.
Please, yes, that's what we'll do. We'll chant up to 10, maybe you can chant, and then we'll start this.
Om Shri Paramatmane Namaha. अथ अष्टमोऽध्यायः अक्षरब्रह्मयोगः। अर्जुन उवाच किं तद्ब्रह्म किमध्यात्मं किं कर्म पुरुषोत्तम अधिभूतं च किं प्रोक्तम् अधिदैवं किमुच्यते अधियज्ञः कथं कोत्र देहेऽस्मिन् मधुसूदन प्रयाणकाले च कथं ज्ञेयोऽसि नियतात्मभिः। श्रीभगवानुवाच अक्षरं ब्रह्म परमं स्वभावोऽध्यात्ममुच्यते भूतभावोद्भवकरो विसर्गकर्म संजितः अधिभूतं क्षरो भावः पुरुषश्चाधिदैवतम् अधियज्ञोऽहमेवात्र देहे देहभृतां वर अन्तकाले च मामेव स्मरन् मुक्त्वा कलेवरम् यः प्रयाति समद्भावं याति नास्त्यत्र संशयः यं यं वापि स्मरन् भावं त्यजत्यन्ते कलेवरम् तं तमेवैति कौन्तेय सदा तद्भावभावितः तस्मात् सर्वेषु कालेषु मामनुस्मरयुध्य च मय्यर्पितमनो बुद्धिः मामे वैश्यस्य संशयम् अभ्यासयोगयुक्तेन चेतसा नान्यगामिना Paramam Purusham Divyam Yati Parthanuchintayan Kavim Purana Manushasitaram Manoraniyam Samanumaredyaha Kavim Purananushasitaram Manoraniyam Smaredyaha Sarvasya Dhataramantya Aditya Rinam Tamasa Parastata प्रयाणकाले मनसा जलेन भक्त्या युक्तो योगबलेन चैव भ्रुवोर्मध्ये प्राणमावेश्य सम्यक् सतं परं पुरुषमुपैति दिव्यम्. That's it. So we were looking at Bhagwan's answer. I will just read the last fourth shloka, I believe, right? Adhibhutam ksharo bhavah purushaschaधिदैवतम् adhiyajño ahamevatra dehe dehabhrutam vara. O the most exalted one, among those who have a body, what is centered on the beings is the one subject to decline. And what is centered on the devatas is Hiranyagarbha. Here in this body, I alone am what is centered on ritual. Brahman is limitless and is myself. Aksharam Brahma Paramam. Brahman is limitless and not subject to change. Akshara means that which does not decline. Anything that declines is within time and therefore subject to all the sixfold modifications. The sixfold modifications are the Shad Bhava Vikaras, namely Asti is, Jayate is born, Vardhate grows, Viparinamate undergoes changes, Apakshiyate decays, Vinashyati is destroyed. An object has these sixfold modifications. My voice is breaking too much. Just let me know if I need to repeat. So what does not decline is free from these modifications. Brahman is Akshara, not subject to any change whatsoever. That can only be not conditioned by place, time, or a given attribute. An object like a pot is limited in space by its own dimension, limited by time, because there was a time when it was not, and there will be a time when it will not be. And being a pot, it is distinct from everything else, including other pots. Brahman is not limited in any of these respects. It has no dimension, and so it does not exist in space. But one may ask, is space also not free of this limitation, since there is no place where space is not? It is true that space is all pervasive within creation, but it does not pervade Brahman. Brahman pervades space, and space is limited with respect to time. It does not exist in pralaya or deep sleep. Further, it is only space distinguishable from all other things. It is not air or fire or time. Brahman has no limitation with respect to objects because It has no particular quality of its own, and yet it is the truth of everything. Nothing stands separate from Brahman, and that Param Brahma can only be Sat Chit Ananda Brahma Atma. The word Akshara is used later, that is chapter 8, 13 verse, to refer to the single syllable word Om. So, Shankara raises the question as to why the word Akshara does not mean Om here, and he himself answers it. He says that the adjective Parama negates that possibility. And further, Om is not the topic here. Even though it is a name for Brahman, Om is not Brahman. Therefore, Akshara is Brahman here. Svabhavah adhyatmam uchyate. Svabhava, the manifestation of this Param Brahma, is said to be Adhyatma, Jiva. Atma here means body. So Adhyatma is that which is centered on the physical body. That can be anything, the body itself, sense organs, mind, prana, mind, buddhi, and finally the Pratyagatma. So Arjuna wants to know what is this Adhyatma which the wise men know. Thus, the word Adhyatma, meaning the Jiva, can refer to any of these. Contextually, here it is Pratyagatma, which obtains in this and every physical body in the form of consciousness. This is the nature of the Jiva. As you reduce the Jiva to its essence, the final reality is consciousness called Adhyatma here. Aksharam Brahma is also called essence of the Jiva Adhyatma. The meaning of the word Brahman and Adhyatma are identical but are used in different contexts. Only Brahman, not Atma, is used when we talk about the cause of the world. That Brahman is equated to this Jiva who is Adhyatma centered on a given physical body. Because Bhagavan said the wise man knows Brahman, the cause of everything, the word Adhyatma is used here to dismiss the notion that Brahman is an object. They know Brahman, but not as something remote from themselves. I repeat, as there was a breaking of voice. Because Bhagavan said the wise man knows Brahman, the cause of everything, the word Adhyatma is used here to dismiss the notion that Brahman is an object. They know Brahman, but not as something remote from themselves, but as themselves. To point this out, he says Adhyatma. By knowing Brahman, they know Atma, and by knowing Atma, they know Brahman. This is because Brahman and Atma are the same. Karma is also Bhagavan. Visargah karma sanjitaha. Then Arjuna wanted to know what is meant by karma, which it was said the wise men know in its entirety. Karma sanjnita, sanjita, sangnita.
कर्म संगीतः
Astu. It
संगीता
is gya, right? Gna, gna.
ज्ञ
Astu.
या
Karma sangita, sanjita. What is known as karma is visarga, offering the act of offering and ahuti in the fire in a yagna. Shankara says it is an offering intended for a given devata. Even though the word karma can mean any type of action, in the Shastra, it specifically means the ritual in which there is an offering. The ritual stands for all other karmas. Therefore, he calls karma as visarga. And it is the karma phala that causes one to be born in a particular body. Therefore, he calls this karma as bhuta bhava udbhava karaha, the one that causes the
It
birth.
is, sorry, Udbhava Karaha. There is no
Udbhava
bhava there.
karaha.
Udbhava. Bhava is like you're creating. Udbhava, that which arises or that which creates, is created.
Yeah. Bhuta bhava udbhava karaha.
No, Bhuta Bhava Udbhava Karam.
Astu. Bhuta
Bhava has that
bhava
R, right? Yeah.
udbhava kara. Bhuta bhava udbhava kara. The one that causes the birth of the existence of beings. In order to be born, a being needs a body. Karma is the cause for that. It produces a twofold result, drishta and adrishta. The adrishta produces bodies for you. Bhuta can be taken as the already existent jivas. They are not created, only the body is created. When you say a son is born, what is really born? Is it a jiva or a body? It is a given physical body with a given parentage at a given place and time. It is creating the bodies for the already existent beings that are created. I repeat this paragraph. Bhuta can be taken as the already existent jivas. They are not created, only the body is created. When you say a son is born, what is really born? Is it a jiva or a body? It is a given physical body with a given parentage at a given place and time. It is creating the bodies for the already existent beings that are created. It is important to know that the jiva is not created. If it were to be created, then Atma also would be created and there would be no possibility of moksha. The jiva's essential nature is eternal and therefore it is not created. Even the jiva who exists as an individual is not created because his cause, ignorance, is beginningless. A particular form is created and the cause for that is karma. Karma also is non-separate from Brahman. The one who knows Brahman knows this. The action, the agent, and all other things connected to the action are Brahman, as we saw in the fourth chapter. Fourth chapter, verse 24. If you don't mind, shall I just chant that? Fourth chapter, verse 24.
Of course, Bela. It's a
Yeah.
Brahmarpanam Brahmahavi, right? Yeah, please
Brahmavihi
go ahead.
brahmagno brahmanahutam brahmana tena gantavyam brahma karma samadhi. I think this we have to by heart. I'm not. Yes, it is very beautiful shloka. They are all mithya, which depend upon Brahman, which is Satya. Therefore, the wise men know the entire karma, akhilam karma. Because of this karma, forms are born. When a person performs a ritual, he is propitiating the devtas. Rain and food and all things necessary for creation are provided because of the devatas. So ultimately, the ritual is the cause for a person's birth. We saw this in the 3rd chapter, and Shankara reminds us here. 3rd chapter, verse 14 and 15.
That is that thing that parasparam bhavayantaha, where I can't get the first beginning of that. But then
Annad
Anad
bhavanti.
Bhavanti Bhutan. Yes, correct.
Ah,
Go ahead. Anad
Parjan,
Bhavanti Bhutani Parjanyadanna Sambhavaha Yajnat
yajna,
Bhavati Parjanyo Yajna Karma Samudbhavaha Karma Brahmodbhavam Vidhi Brahmakshara Samudbhavam Tasmat Sarvagatam Brahma Nityam Yajne Pratishtitam. So it is basically born of karma, this whole, the body, the physical body. Yeah, go ahead, Veena.
so beautiful. Yeah.
I know the chapter 3 by heart. It's not that right from my childhood, this was the one chapter that Nana would chant, and that's how I got it by heart. But I
Wow,
couldn't get the first line of the. And thank you for giving the lead.
so nice. That's wonderful. You have by hearted. We all should by heart. Yes. So the we know the actual cause of the birth. The beings that are subject to change are also Bhagavan. Adhibhutam Ksharah Bhavah. An existent being that is subject to destruction is called Adhibhuta. All beings are subject to change and destruction. Anything that exists is called Bhava. Bhava. Brahmaraji, it is Bhava, right? Anything that exists is called Bhava. And anything that exists is subject to change. Ksharah
Correct.
Bhava. All that is born, the whole world that exists in time is called Adhibhuta. All the physical bodies that exist here and are subject to the changes of birth, existence, growth, development, decline, and death, Krishna says, are also me. I repeat the last line. All the physical bodies that exist here and are subject to the changes of birth, existence, growth, development, decline, and death, Krishna says, are also me. Even though something changes, it does not disappear. So, wherever there is change, there is dependence upon a changeless basis. The essence, the existence of a given object which is undergoing change is never destroyed. And that, Krishna says, is me. This Brahman, which is Akshara, is itself Adhyatma. With reference to the person who is making an inquiry, with reference to all other bodies he confronts, it is Adhibhuta. Thus, not only is Adhyatma me, Adhibhuta is also me, says Krishna. So if you want me to repeat anything, please let me know what we have done so far. Up till here we had done yesterday. Antakale cha mameva smaran muktva kalevaram yah prayati samadbhavam yati nastyatra samshayah. Antakale cha, and at the time of death, mama eva smaran, remembering me alone, muktva, giving up, kalevaram, the body, yah prayati, the one who departs, sah, he, mad bhavam yati, gains my nature, becomes one with me. Atra, here, with reference to this. Samshayah na asti, there is no doubt. Antakale cha mama eva smaran, muktva kalevaram, yah prayati saha madbhavam yati, atra samshayam na samshayah na asti. And at the time of death, the one who departs, giving up the body, remembering me alone, he gains my nature. Regarding this, there is no doubt. I repeat, and at the time of death, the one who departs, giving up the body, remembering me alone, he gains my nature. Regarding this, there is no doubt. Even at the time of death, this man knows that he is Brahman. Antakalecha, and at the time, which is the end, the last moment, Mam Smaran, remembering me, Sa Madbhavam Yati. Sa Madbhavam Yati. He gains my nature. At the time of one's departure from a given physical body in a given incarnation is called Antakala, that is, it is the time of one's death. It is not that only at the time of departure he remembers Ishvara and such a person reaches Ishvara. All through his life too, the person who knows he is Brahman will remember me, Brahman. His knowledge will not go away. The word smaran, meaning remembering, is used figuratively here. What is actually meant here is that this person who has the knowledge of Brahman will have that knowledge of Brahman even at the end of his life. If Brahman is an object of thought kept in the memory, then at the time of death, Brahman will not be of any use to you because it will not come to mind. I repeat, if Brahman is an object of thought kept in the memory, then at the time of death, Brahman will not be of any use to you because it will not come to mind. When you face death, what is going to be thought of is what concerns you the most. If Brahman is an object of thought and you have to rely upon thinking about it at the time of death, you are taking a chance. You may think of it, you may not. Even if you do think about Brahman at that time, it does not mean that you will know Brahman because thinking about Brahman is not the same as knowing Brahman. Brahman is the very nature of yourself. That I am Brahman is not just a statement, it is assimilated knowledge. Can it ever be a matter of memory? No, I can remember 100 of different things, but Brahman can never be one of them because the one who remembers everything is Brahman. On the other hand, the one who knows himself as Brahman can never forget that he is Brahman because it is his very nature, not an object of memory. Kalevaram muktva yah prayati. Giving up the physical body, the one who departs. Where does he go? He reaches me, gains my nature, the nature of Paramatma. Saha mad bhavam yati. This person is a Jivan Mukta. Even while alive, he knows the identity between himself and Brahman. Is it too much of breaking of voice, Brahmaraji?
No, I think that thing I just thought, Kalevaram Muktva Yah Prayati, and then Saha Madbhavam Yati. Just that little thing when there is that
Yati.
horizontal line, no? Just do a little
Madbhavam.
bit. Yeah.
अस्तु क्षम्यताम् कलेवरं मुक्त्वा यः प्रयाति giving up the physical body, the one who departs, where does he go? He reaches me, gains my nature, the nature of Anatma, saha madbhavam yati. This person is a Jivan Mukta. Even yati. Yati is correct, right, Brahmaraji? Bhavam yati.
Yeah, Yati. Yati is the one who reaches or who attains.
Yeah. This person is a Jivan Mukta. Even while alive, he knows the identity between himself and Brahman. When he dies, what happens? There is no Jiva. There is only Brahman. What happens when a wise man dies? If the person is not a Jnani, when the physical body dies, his subtle body continues to exist because the causal body Kshamyatam. What happens when a wise body dies? If the person is not a Jnani, when the physical body dies, his subtle body continues to exist because the causal body, ignorance, still exists. Since there is self-ignorance, all his karmas are waiting to fructify. So, at the time of death, he assumes a body appropriate for those karmas and travels to a place suitable for their fulfillment. This is very important paragraph. I will read once again. What happens when a wise man dies? If the person is not a Jnani, when the physical body dies, his subtle body continues to exist because the causal body, ignorance, still exists. Since there is self-ignorance, all his karmas are waiting to fructify. So, at the time of death, he assumes a body appropriate for those karmas and travels to a place suitable for their fulfillment. For a Jivan Mukta, such a travel does not take place because at the time of death, his subtle body disintegrates. The same Shastra that tells us that a person travels after death also tells us that the Jnani does not have any subtle body with which to travel. It has disappeared because its cause, ignorance, is gone. The causal body is ignorance, and knowledge of Atma being Brahman amounts to removal of that ignorance. When the cause is gone, naturally the effect is not there. Once the threads are burnt, the pieces of cloth cannot remain. Similarly, once ignorance is gone, the subtle body cannot remain. Therefore, there is no travel. Giving up this body, he reaches me alone, says the Lord. Reaching is purely figurative here. He has already said what he means by me, Param Brahma. Param Brahma is non-separate from Atma. Therefore, there can be no real reaching. Reaching is only in the sense of being non-separate from Ishvara. So beautiful. But one thing cannot assume the nature of another. See the discussion on the verse 15, chapter 8, under the heading, one recognizes his identity with Ishvara. So it will come later. We have to remember this context of verse 5th here. But one thing cannot assume the nature of another. A given object which has its own nature cannot give that up and still exist in its original form. But here, the nature of Atma is already Brahman. The Jivan Mukta knew this even while alive. Dead, there is nobody there, no separate individual. While he was alive, there was a seeming doer and enjoyer. Now, there is not even that. Before knowledge, he was doing. After knowledge, he was seemingly doing. When he died, meaning when the body died, he does not even seemingly do. Once and for all, he is gone. Please remember, these are very, very important paragraphs. We have to remember the recognition here. Paramatma or Ishvara no, is not an object. When there is that dilemma, then there will be the existence of the subtle body. I repeat the last paragraph, but one thing cannot assume the nature of another. A given object which has its own nature cannot give that up and still exist in its original form. But here, the nature of Atma is already Brahman. The Jivan Mukta knew this even while alive. Dead, there is nobody there, no separate individual. While he was alive, there was a seeming doer and enjoyer. Now there is not even that. Before knowledge he was doing, after knowing he was seemingly doing. When he died, meaning when the body died, he does not even seemingly do. This is very nice, important statement, revelation.
This is in that
Once,
chapter 5. There is this Ashnan, Gachan, Swapan, Swashan, Pralapan, Visrijan, Grinnan, Unmishan, Nimishan, Napi. He seemingly does all these actions. He seemingly is eating, he seemingly is talking, but he's always in that, rooted in that space of non-doership.
yeah, that duality is gone. So, seemingly do. When he died, meaning when the body died, he does not even seemingly do. Once and for all, he is gone. Here there is no doubt. Atra na asti samshayah. Atra here means, with reference to this is not an assurance. It is purely a statement of fact. The Vastu being eternal, there is no question of it being born. Once he knows himself as that Vastu, how can he be born? What is eternal cannot be born. Even before this knowledge, he was eternal, but he did not know that fact about himself. Therefore, there was a false entity that accumulated karma phala and required further births. Now he knows his nature as akarta, and therefore there is no question of any future birth for him. So beautiful. There is not one Ishvara before knowing and another one after knowing. All that is there is one Vastu. The one who knows that which is my nature, mad bhavam yati. Yati, Shamita. Brahmaji, if you can take over later on in 5 minutes, kindly take over. I will just continue, finish this page.
Sure, Bela.
Yeah. There is not one Ishvara before knowing and another one after. All that is there is one Vastu. The one who knows that reaches my nature, mad bhavam yati. And there is no doubt here. There is no question as to whether does he go to Paramatma or not. There is no doubt because he already is Paramatma. Where is then the question of his going to Paramatma? To understand the Shastra, one must understand what is moksha. The expression Mad Bhavam Yati has been subject to various interpretations. We have to understand the Shastra well, and to do so, we must be very clear about what moksha is. One commentator interprets this verse as saying, the one who gives up the body thinking of me, Narayana, goes to Vaikuntha. According to him, going to heaven is moksha. Vaikuntha can be replaced by any other concept of heaven. Since it is a popular concept, it is worth examining here. Becoming one with Bhagavan, Brahma Sayujya. Brahma Sayujya. Kshamyatam. Samipyam Sayujya. Becoming one with Bhagavan, Brahma Sayujya. The contention is that one goes to heaven and there becomes one with Ishvara. If that is so, the following questions arise. Who goes to Vaikuntha? If the one who goes is an individual, does he have a body? If he does not, it will be like sleep where there is no time or space and therefore no travel at all. There is no possibility of going anywhere without a body. Besides this, different worlds are presented in the Shastra as physical places. Therefore, when you go there, you must have a physical body. It may be a celestial body, but it has got to be a body. A mere physical body will not be enough because it would be insentient. Therefore, you must also have a subtle body. This is an important thing. How can you become Narayana with your own subtle and gross bodies? With one's own body, one is entirely different from Narayana. On the other hand, if you don't have your own sthula sukshma shariras, then where is the individual who is to become one with Narayana? Again, if the individual becomes a part of the Lord, then does the individual retain his individuality? I repeat, again, if the individual becomes a part of the Lord, then does the individual retain his individuality? If so, there is no moksha. The Lord is the Lord and the individual is the individual. If the individual dissolves in the Lord, how can the individual be real? Individuality must be mithya in order to disappear. If that is so, then one is already not separate from the Lord, and the discovery of that fact is moksha. This is the real Brahma Sayujya, being one with Brahman. This is only figure of speech. One is Brahman always, even when one is ignorant of that fact. Brahmaraji, could you please take over?
Okay, I'll take over, Bela. I will actually repeat this. This is what page is this?
Yeah, this is page 21, Brahmaraji.
Okay.
I can continue sharing. You can
No,
read.
no, I'm sharing the screen. I just wanted to know which number page we are in. So I can.
Okay.
I thought we'll just read this one more time. This
Yeah, please. It is very, very important.
to understand the Shastra, one must understand what is moksha. You're all able to hear me clearly?
Yes, Brahmaraji.
Yes,
Just
yes.
the text can be little bit
Yeah,
enlarged.
I will enlarge the text. Don't worry.
Dhanyavad.
Just that my computer is not listening to my fingers today for some reason. Let me just check it out 1 second. So to understand the Shastra, one must, this is where we are at 2021. Okay. How to collapse this one? Yeah, this is better. To understand the Shastra, one must understand what is moksha. The expression Madbhavam Yati has been subject to various interpretations. We have to understand the Shastra well, and to do so, we must be very clear about what moksha is. One commentator interprets this verse as saying, the one who gives up the body thinking of me, Narayana, goes to Vaikuntha. According to him, going to heaven is moksha. Vaikuntha can be replaced by any other concept of heaven. Since it is a popular concept, it is worth examining here. Becoming one with Bhagavan, Brahma Sayujya. The contention is that one goes to heaven and there becomes one with Ishvara. If that is so, the following questions arise. Who goes to Vaikuntha? If the one who goes is an individual, does he have a body? If he does not, it will be like sleep where there is no time or space and therefore no travel at all. There is no possibility of going anywhere without a body. Besides this, different worlds are presented in the Shastra as physical places. Therefore, when you go there, you must have a physical body. It may be a celestial body, but it has got to be a body. A mere physical body will not be enough because it would be insentient. Therefore, you must also have a subtle body. This is an important thing. How can you become Narayana with your own subtle and gross bodies? With one's own body, one is entirely different from Narayana. On the other hand, if you don't have your own sthula sukshma shariras, then where is the individual who is to become one with Narayana? Again, if the individual becomes a part of the Lord, then does the individual retain his individuality? If so, there is no moksha. The Lord is the Lord and the individual is the individual. If the individual dissolves in the Lord, how can the individual be real? Individuality must be mithya in order to disappear. If that is so, then one is already not separate from the Lord, and the discovery of that fact is moksha. So what is moksha according to Shastra? It is, although there are different interpretations, the real essence of moksha is that recognition of the fact that you are the Lord and that the body and all its accompaniments, the sthula, sukshma, karana, shariras are all mithya. This is the real Brahma Sayujya, being one with Brahman. This is only figure of speech. One is Brahman always, even when one is ignorant of that fact. We learned that Brahma is Nitya Aparoksha. He's always present. It's just that we do not recognize the fact. So is Samipya moksha? In another concept of moksha, the contention is that if one is pure enough, one is almost equal to the Lord and can therefore go very near him. This is called Samipya. Nearness to Bhagavan is considered to be moksha, but it cannot be moksha. Even though you may be near the Lord, someone else may be nearer. You would naturally compare yourself with the other and experience pain. In other words, as long as you are a separate individual, you will be subject to degrees of pleasure and pain. All the dvandvas will keep happening. This concept of Samipya again does not dissolve the individuality, and therefore there is no possibility of total freedom. Is going to heaven moksha? Going to heaven of any denomination is not moksha. Sometimes the gain of heaven is referred to by the words Amrita, Moksha, etc. But it is obvious that these words only point out a relative freedom from pain. Heaven being a place reached by a person at a given time, the life therein is going to be within a time frame determined by one's own punya. That there is a heaven, I come to know by the Shastra. And that very Shastra makes it clear that a sojourn in heaven is only a sojourn. It will be over when the cause, the punya, is exhausted. For a serious mumukshu, heaven holds no attraction. When I'm already free, that I should go to heaven is nothing but a confirmation of the original error. For a serious mumukshu, heaven holds no attraction. So he is not going to go that Yamimam Pushpitam Vacham in the second chapter. There the Vedas, the first part of the Vedas, the Karma Kanda talks of you do this ritual, you'll gain this punya, therefore you can go to Svargaloka. So he is not caught up with that. When I am already free, that I should go to heaven is nothing but a confirmation of the original error. The original error is that you are different from Ishvara. Even going to Brahmaloka, which is considered to be the greatest achievement in samsara, is meaningless in the light of the fact that all the lokas are non-separate from Brahman, and that Brahman is myself. This is that ultimate knowledge. So there is no moksha in any sort of becoming that implies a change of body, place, and time. So there is no moksha in any sort of becoming that implies a change of body, place, and time. Moksha is here and now, not at another place, another time. This body-mind-sense complex does not in any way stand opposed to moksha. In fact, the human sharira is adequate enough to gain this moksha, which is in the form of knowing that I am Brahman, and Brahman is always free. Moksha means freedom. That can only mean giving up something you already have. The body, mind, and so on can be given up. But if they are given up, for whom is moksha? If it is for the physical body, from what does it require moksha? Moksha means freedom. That can only mean giving up something you already have. The body, mind, and so on can be given up. But if they are given up, for whom is moksha? If it is for the physical body, from what does it require moksha? Shruti says that the person who is free from a body is free from the desirable and the undesirable. None of the opposites touch him. He becomes a dvandvatitaha. If moksha means being free from the opposites, that it is not possible for anyone who has a body. If moksha means being free from the opposites, that is not possible for anyone who has a body. Because once you have a body, you're going through the dvandvas. Even if you have only a subtle body, you cannot have freedom from pleasure and pain. In a dream, there is no physical body, but there is pain and pleasure. In sleep, it is not so. Only in the absence of a physical or subtle body, there is no pleasure or pain. In their presence, there is sukha and dukkha. This is the truth of the jiva. Moksha is to get rid of sukha and dukkha. So how can you call going to heaven moksha? So I'm going to read this one more time, this paragraph. And Shruti says that a person who is free from a body is free from the desirable and the undesirable. None of the opposites touch him. If moksha means being free from the opposites, that is not possible for anyone who has a body. So in order to be free from the opposites, you have to be free from your body. If you continue to have this body in the sense that body recognition, body identification, you cannot be free from the opposites. So even if you have a subtle body, you cannot have freedom from pleasure and pain, which is indicated by even in a dream where you only have the subtle body. In a dream, there is no physical body. There is the subtle body, but there is still pain and pleasure. In sleep, it is not so. In deep sleep, where you have only the Karana Sharira, only in the absence of a physical or subtle body, there is no pleasure or pain. In their presence, there is dukkha and sukha and dukkha. This is the truth of the jiva. Moksha is to get rid of sukha and dukkha. So how can you call going to heaven moksha? It's a beautiful interpretation of what the Shruti is saying. The Shruti is saying, giving up the physical body, giving up the pairs of opposites, getting rid of them is moksha. And that can happen here and now. You don't need to go to another time or go to another place. You may argue that once you make it to Vaikuntha, you will experience only the desirable. But when the mind is active, all the properties of the mind will be there. Desires will be there. And depending on whether or not they are fulfilled, there will be varying degrees of sukha and dukkha. Even though the present may not be affecting you, guilt and hurt lingering from past experiences will always be recollected. That memory cannot be avoided, and that alone is enough to create pain and pleasure. So the threads of karma still haunt you, even if you go to Vaikuntha. If you go with this body and mind of yours, with the stula sukshma shariras. So there, even though you may get only that you get only those that are desirable, you will still, because you have a mind, you will have desires. Because you have the mind, your memory is still active. So all the hurt, guilt of the past will keep haunting you. To be unhappy, all you have to do is look around and see who is next to you, who is in front of you, etc. Then comparison will be there, which is enough to make you feel miserable. At the very least, you will be bored. So to become unhappy, you just need another person. Even if another person is not there for you to compare, if you're alone, you will be bored. How can you call heaven a place of liberation? Even though the Shastra talks about lokas that are desirable, it does not say that going to one of them is moksha. It says that wherever you go, you will come back. A serious mumukshu will not wish for heaven, but for a better chance next time. If he finds that in this body, he is not able to understand, in this situation, things are not conducive for him, he is going to wish for improved conditions for moksha and not for heaven. The Shruti shows us that in spite of having a body, mind, and senses, we are free from them. Atma is not touched by sukha or dukkha. Its nature is ananda. Since it is already free, moksha is knowledge. The knowledge that I am free from being the body. The Shruti shows us that in spite of having a body, mind, and senses, we are free from them. This is the fundamental truth. The fundamental error is that we think we are the body, mind, and senses and that we are bound. Atma is not touched by sukha or dukkha. Its nature is ananda. Since it is already free, moksha is knowledge. The knowledge that I am free from being the body. So this is what the Shruti says, is moksha is not going to heaven. Moksha is not just remembering the name of Narayana at the time of death. That is not going to take you to Vaikuntha. Even if it takes you to Vaikuntha, that is not moksha. Moksha is knowledge. Moksha is liberation from the pairs of opposites. Moksha is liberation from the identification that you are the body, mind, sense complex. Moksha is also liberation from the sthula, sukshma, karana shariras. So should we stop here for Manana? There is, let me see how much more of this shloka is there. Yeah, there is 2 more paragraphs. I think I will read these 2 and then we'll stop for Manana, right? Impossibility of moksha when a form is involved. Mad bhava does not mean a form. Bhava here means the essence of something. The essence of Ishvara is formlessness, and Atma is Satchit Ananda, also formless. Only then can there be identity. 2 forms can never be identical. One who knows the truth will understand Ishvara as having no particular form, the one to whom all forms belong. He knows he is non-separate from Ishvara because the whole cannot be separate from anything. It is partless, limitless, nor can there be any kind of relation between the individual and the whole, because the whole is the individual is the whole. This is just like how between the number 1 and infinity there is no relationship. 1 can be divided into infinity, and infinity includes all ones. So there is no relationship. If the Lord is whole, he cannot be separate from you. If he is separate from you, he becomes finite, not whole. This whole beautiful paragraph summarizes the Purna mantra, which is Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. So Atma is whole, is Purna. Jiva is also whole. He is also Purna. The only thing is that he does not recognize himself as such. So there's no difference between Atma and Jiva. Tattvam Asi. Any form you attribute to Ishvara is going to be less than Ishvara because a given form will exclude all others. Generally, one form is given and all other forms superimposed upon it. One name is given and all other names superimposed upon it. We have varieties of devatas and forms of worship. By all of them, you can accomplish only karma phala. So there is no such thing as liberation through Ishvara with a form. There can only be the required grace whereby you can get a result within samsara. So all the form worship that we do, the idol worship or the yajnas, yagas, all of them is only going to give you karma phala, which does not give you liberation, does not give you moksha, because moksha is knowledge. Moksha is recognition. Moksha is removing that fundamental error. But they can, of course, when you do all of this, there is going to be grace, whereby you get a result within samsara. Moksha is knowledge. If the words of the Shastra are understood properly, the whole thing reduces itself to Atma, Satchit Ananda. The one who knows this knows the truth. To know something, you must see it as it is. If you know a rope as a rope, you know the truth of it. Similarly, knowledge of the truth of Ishvara makes you a knower of Ishvara, rather than a knower of a particular form. If you superimpose Bhagavan on a particular form, then it is for the purpose of worship. That is fine. But this is not knowing the truth. And without knowing the truth, there is no question of reaching Ishvara. Bhagavan says, only the Jnani reaches me. His Atma is myself alone. This knowledge is moksha. We need not give up meditation because its result can provide situations conducive to gaining knowledge for the nature of Parameshvara. One is a devotee in order to be free from being a devotee. This is true of any type of devotion. If one is devoted to getting into the White House, his devotion will end only when he is elected to the White House. When will the devotee of the Lord fulfill his devotion? Only when he is the Lord. Therefore, the Lord says, the one who seeks me, who thinks of me at the end of his life, gains me. In the previous verse, it was said that the one who thinks of Ishvara at the time of death reaches Ishvara. This logic is extended to the next verse to other objects. So we'll do verse 6 tomorrow. We'll just close our eyes. Do you want me to go through any other para in one more time? If not, we will close our eyes once and then let's just recollect all that we learned today. We'll just read the shloka one more time. Antakale cha mameva smaran muktva kalevaram yah prayati samadbhavam yati nastyatra samshayah. And at the time of death, the one who departs giving up the body, remembering me alone, he gains my nature. Regarding this, there is no doubt. Now let's close our eyes and then reflect on what we learned. Jai Gurudev. I would invite everyone to share their takeaways. Even if it is one word, one line or few lines, please go ahead and I think we also did verse 5 today. I think Bila went through this verse 5. Oh, we did only 5. No, she went through verse 4 as well. Adhibhutam ksharo bhavaha purushaschaदिदैवतम् adhiyajñohamevatra dehe dehabhritam vara. O the most exalted one among those who have a body, what is centered on the beings is the one subject to decline, and what is centered on the devatas is Hiranyagarbha. Here in this body, I alone am what is centered on ritual. So basically what he's saying is that the one centered on the body is me itself, the Adhyatma, although it means the physical body. But the one that is centered, the Jiva is not created. Jiva is the Atma. Only the physical body is created, and that is created as a result of karma. It's a result of ignorance. Similarly, all the devatas, the sum total of all the devatas, that which is centered on them is the Hiranyagarbha. And even I am Adi Yajnoha Me Vatra. I am the one centered on ritual, which is where we learned went back to chapter 4, verse 24. Brahmarpanam Brahmahavihi. So he is there in and through. Basically, he is there centered on the jiva, on the yajna, on the devatas. He is the only one that exists. He's the one. And from that one, the jiva is it takes it like an offshoot. The jiva is also whole. Only that because of this cover of this avarana of mala and vikshepa, that we are not able to recognize, we have that fundamental error. And because of which we are subject to all the pairs of opposites, dvandvas, sukha, dukkha, and we get caught up in desires trying to get out of this dvandva. It's such a foolish thing. In order to gain moksha, liberation, they're only fighting. It's like a fly in a cup of tea that is caught in. How is it going to get out of it? It has to be either lifted up or, I may not be giving the right example, but then that is how we are. We are trying to find solutions within the samsara, which is not possible. So you have to direct your thinking process, mature it, and go towards mumukshutvam should be your purushartha. And that antakale cha mameva smaran mukva kalevaram, that is, it's not enough if you just remember the word Narayana, then, and you have your son or grandson named Narayana so that you can remember him at the time of death. That is very frivolous. It may be better than thinking of your bank balance, but that is not going to give you moksha. Going to Vaikuntha is not moksha. Moksha is gaining this knowledge, recognition that I am none other than Brahman. And that you don't need to go to another place to get moksha. It can happen here and now. So a mumukshu's prayer is not for gaining heaven. A mumukshu's prayer is to gain a better, a conducive environment to further this knowledge further his pursuit of moksha. Then it gives us a beautiful direction to our praying also. You don't pray for limited results. That is why Gurudev says, if you pray, ask, seek for the highest. Why are you begging for small things? Like, I want a job, I want some house, I want a car. Get out of that limited nature. Seek the highest. So when you seek the highest, you become Ishvara, that Sayujya and Samipya. So Samipya is also not moksha. Going near is not moksha, because near still means that there is a distance between you and Ishvara. Yeah, anyone wants to share anything? Yes, Tattvamasi is the essence. Aham Brahmasmi, union of self with Brahma. Very right. I could not. Yes, go ahead, Maltiji. Go ahead.
Moksha is, liberation from pairs of opposite. Time and again it has been emphasized. So seriously we have to work on that.
Yeah, very right. The only way to get out of the pairs of opposites, not only way, the way that is shown by Bhagavad Gita, by Bhagwan, is number one, to perform your duty as a karma yogi. And hook yourself to this knowledge that you are not the body. Then that non-doership will slowly happen. Otherwise, you are here as a bhokta, as a karta and a bhokta. As long as you're a karta, you will be a bhokta. As long as you're the doer, you will also be the enjoyer. Enjoyer means either way. If you have something pleasurable, you you experience pleasure. If you have something unpleasurable, not pleasurable, you experience pain. So being in a Dvandvatita implies these two. I was just wondering whether when you have physical pain, how you use this knowledge, that you are beyond the body. The pain is happening but then pain is such a intense sensation. It so kind of holds you down to the body consciousness. You do not know that your head exists unless you have a headache. You don't know your little finger is existing unless you have pain there. So it actually brings you down. Pain anchors you to the body consciousness. I was just wondering how to use this element of pain, this experience of pain, to slowly come out of body consciousness. Anyone has suggestions, please, will be good before we go to chapter 6.
We read that, Jai Gurudev, we read that whatever, I think in previous shloka, that when the mind wanders away from the object of contemplation and you focus on the basis of that thought, you continue giving it a thought that either it may be pain or it may be some other thing bothering your mind. So when you see that, you try and your mind, like the mind is going to a particular place, you just go to that base of that. What is it that is affecting your mind? It is making the mind wander away from the object of contemplation, that you are in meditation and you are focusing somewhere, and but the mind, it get entraps in some thought or some body consciousness. So you remain that in that position only. Don't try to run away from that. Keep on focusing on that, and you will see that it just wash away. Like it, if any part of body is paining, you direct whole of your attention to that for a while, and you will see that when you focus on that part, your pain vanishes away. This I have experienced, and it takes a time, but it doesn't vanish so soon. But when you keep on, it's like the prana energy you are having, naturally that you are in practice of meditation, then the sattva has increased, so the prana energy is there. You have that energy in you. You focus your energy to that part, and you will see slowly that you get relieved of that pain. I practice the Sahaj mantra also. I had attended a yoga level 2 where they do this washing of, you drink water, a lot of water. I don't recollect the name, what the procedure was called.
Prakshalan.
Prakshalan. So I've attended that, and in that, because it was a strenuous thing, and at that time I was having this carpal tunnel syndrome in one of my wrist. So doing all the yogas also, I could not put my hand on the floor as flat when doing any yoga poses. So I used to make a fist, and then only I could do it. So with one hand I used to make a fist, and other I used to place flat. So while I was doing this, the teacher there, he said, why are you doing this way? So I told him that because I am having pain in this, so that's why I'm doing like this. I have to do the yoga asana. Naturally, you can't sit and watch So this is the way I can do. So he said, don't worry. In meditation, you take the Sahaj mantra and you will be relieved of the pain. So whenever the meditations were going on side by sides in the program, so taking the Sahaj mantra also at the time, you won't believe that by the time the course ended, my wrist was almost normal. It was that I was directing my thought also, and that the Sahaj mantra also. So I was relieved of that pain, and since that I did not have this carpal tunnel syndrome pain at all, because it kept repeating very often. But since then I did not have this pain again. This is my, like, I was myself wondering also, how come that it is relieved, but there is that prana energy which, when you are concentrating and you are doing with your whole soul, heart, so I think that helps. It's not a human body has so much of healing capacity. So
what you're saying is very right. In Sahaj, yes, that's what we do. We take the mantra when you have some pain, discomfort, and that helps. But
yeah,
this pain that you experience even outside of your meditation, like in your day-to-day, when you're not doing meditation, so to say, when you're in your daily activities and you're going through this pain, I think we can use the same thing. Like you go to the basis of that, and I think
and you visualize, yeah, it's like acceptance also, and then
acceptance.
Yeah, and that you focus on that part, sit and breathe, breathing through that area. You breathe in and out of that area, focusing on that area relieves you. I heard one on YouTube, Guruji's how to relieve headache. He said the same thing, that you breathe in and out of that part.
Yeah.
So that relieves a lot, especially in headaches when you are having. So you take from your from the mid eye, and you exhale from your occipital area. So you it's only that the practices of with the shantaman, you with until unless you are calm, these things will not happen. And the breath helps you to make your inner calm.
Right.
And it works. Yeah.
So beautiful. Thank you for that lovely sharing, Dr. Savita. And one thing I remember, Rajima in her Bhagavatam, maybe sometime later, once we finished with Gita, we'll go through Bhagavatam. There's a beautiful 7 CDs discourse that she's given. And that she says, pain is also part of Ishvara's creation. So if you think of him also, the pain is also him. Pain is also, and then even that will help relieve. So that was also a beautiful way of looking at it. Whatever we're going through is part of the whole, is there. It is his manifestation. So when you come from that space, also it helps you kind of let go that the pain, the hold it has on your experience, it tends to slow down, tends to loosen up.
One thing also I wanted to share, like as I am in the practice of this sun meditation. So you can sit in the early hours. You can sit in the sun, or you can visualize the rays of the sun. So whichever part you are having pain, you can focus, like you breathe in and you visualize that whole of the sun rays or the heat or the energy from the sun you are imbibing in yourself, just like a sponge. You breathe in and you are taking whole of the sun energy inside you, and it is, the Surya Kund is just below this where the two rib cage separates. That
The solar plexus. No?
Yeah. So that part, whenever you inhale and you take this sun energy inside you, it is said that it gets stored in this area, and wherever you feel that pain, you focus that the mass of light, the mass of light, that whole bundle of light, you focus on that area where you have that pain, and you visualize that it is circumscribed, like that area, it is surrounded by that light, and you keep on focusing, and you just breathe in and see that all the energy of the sun, that light, the strong visualization of that light is there, and you keep on doing it for continuously for many days. But it should be with a peaceful mind and in a meditative form. And the posture is not essential, that it is not that you have to sit and straight and you have to practice. You just whichever posture is comfortable, only that the mind should be in a meditative mode.
So
and
beautiful.
you practice, it will be relieved. Like in Navratra, I have noticed this. Like when we're fasting, I joined that on only on water fasting. That time it was literally energy drained, and I on the last day, it was only through the sun that I could had that strength and I could imbibe the energy, and I felt that difference, and it helps in pain also. I do on daily practice. Whenever I offer water to sun, I stand there for a while, and I imagine whole of the sun energy entering a whole. I take in whole of my body, starting from top to my eyes, my ears, my mouth, my neck, shoulder, joints. The sun enters whole part of the body up to my foot. So I keep on standing for a while. It dawns, the light dawns in your whole body. You get filled with that prakash. So it has that healing capacity that I have observed. Yeah.
So wonderful for you. Thank you for sharing your personal practices. You go a long way. Yeah. So coming to chapter 6, do we have anyone who has done, can give us the summary of verse 28? Last verse was Prashanta manasam hyenam yoginam sukham uttamam upaiti shanta rajasam brahma bhutama kalmasham. This is what we learned. This is the benefits of doing these meditation, is that indeed the most exalted happiness reaches this meditator whose mind is tranquil, whose impurities have all resolved, whose life is free from all defects, akalmasham, who has become Brahman through knowledge. And then now he says, does sukha reach this person, or does the person gain sukha? In fact, either way is correct, as we shall see in the next verse. Yunjannevam sadatmanam yogi vigata kalmashaha sukhena brahma samsparsham atyantam sukhamashnute. Evam, in this manner, sada, always, atmanam, the mind, yunjan, connecting, vigata kalmashaha, free from the conflicts born of adharma, yogi, the meditator, sukhena, easily, brahma samsparsham, born of contact with recognition of Brahman, atyantam, absolute, sukham, happiness, ashnute, gains. The meditator, free from the conflicts born of adharma, always connecting the mind in this manner, easily gains absolute happiness, born of contact with recognition of Brahman. So I did not actually also go through. Not sure if anyone else can. Should we do this tomorrow?
I read it yesterday, but
give us a summary, we'll go through this tomorrow, the PDF. If you can give us a summary, then we will.
In previous verse, it was that the sukha reaches you, but here it was to these two verses were explained in a way that the person who is prashant manasa, shant rajasa and kalmasha, that the sukha, this reaches that person. But in this verse, it is that if you contemplate on that, the object of contemplation, that is the Atma, if the mind resides in that, then it is that the Jiva recognizes that how the mind is in the Atma. Then the Sukha reaches, I'm confusing, I think.
Now, let me just put this up here.
It was said that the Sukha reaches the Jiva the initial verse. But here, when you get this knowledge that there is no, that when you contemplate that the Atma is only yourself, that it is only will give you Ananda after gaining this knowledge, then this Sukha reaches the person automatically. It is, you are dropping that ignorance. So the Sukha will reach the person, and this yogi will, he will gain that Ananda. The main gist was that it was explained in different headings that how to resolve between the object and subject. Initially, we were discussing that. I'm very poor at expressing.
No, but of course you have expressed very well. So what I suggest is that we'll all go through this, and tomorrow we'll run through the PDF if required, and then we'll go on to chapter Shloka 29 after we've done this.
Yeah, the Atyantika Sukha which you get after you recognize that you are the Brahma Sparsha Atyantika Sukha. When you recognize that, when you acknowledge this, then you have that Sukha of Brahman, and that is your own Swarupa. You are able to acknowledge that it is not something that you have to gain. It is already you have
already
this.
There.
You have this Swarupa Sukha which you is there. That when you acknowledge it, then this way the Sukha is, it automatically comes to you. You don't have to seek it. This was the main what Swamiji wanted to say. That.
Yeah, very good. So we'll do this tomorrow again. We'll read the PDF and then we'll take it forward. We'll close for today. Jai Gurudev. Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat Shri Krishna Arpanamastu. Jai Gurudev.